If you can, and knowing you're hampered by the situation of the meeting, can you tell us anything about that meeting with the DOJ up on Capitol Hill today?
Yeah, it was a classified briefing of what we call the Gang of Eight, which is the leadership of the House and Senate, along with the Intel committee leaders. And I really can't because it was a classified briefing, and that's what classified means.
Yeah. Were you surprised with what you learned?
Nothing particularly surprising. But again, it was classified, so there's no real report I can give to you.
I won't go down this hole, but should Congress be privy to this material if it is part of this investigation?
Yeah, I think occasionally briefing the so-called Gang of Eight is a good idea for the administration. They agreed to do it, and we were glad they did.
All right, about this investigation and broadly about the Russia probe, the former National Intelligence Director, James Clapper, is out with a new book, and he accuses you and Speaker Ryan of essentially not caring about foreign interference in the 2016 election as long as President Trump won. In this book, he writes, quote, "I was disappointed but not surprised. It seemed they had decided by then that they didn't care who their nominee was, how he got elected, or what effects having a foreign power influence our election would have on the nation as long as they won." Your response to that, sir?
Well, it's almost laughable. I mean, the administration and the various players involved in underestimating the whole episode have been looking around for others to blame. That's an absurd suggestion. Clapper knows better, and he shouldn't have written it.
Do you think that this investigation is coming closer to an end?
I have no idea, but I think it would be great if we got to a conclusion and got to a conclusion sometime soon.
Let me turn to today's news about the North Korean summit, the summit in Singapore that's now been called off. Your reaction to that?
I think the president did the right thing. You know, we've seen 3 generations of North Korean leaders engage in similar ploys in order to get relief from sanctions. It seems that the Kim Jong-un is a chip off the old block, and I think the president didn't want to be played with, wanted to make sure the North Koreans understood he was serious, willing to engage, provided they didn't continue to play these kind of games that they've historically done with other administrations and gotten away with it. So in sum, I think President Trump did exactly the right thing in canceling the meeting.
As far as diplomatic moves, is your sense that the hope in the White House and the expectation is that this is somehow going to get back on track eventually?
Yeah, I think we all hope it will. I mean, there's nothing that wouldn't be good about a Korean peninsula without nuclear weapons. So sure, we all hope this gets back on track, and the next step, it strikes me, is up to the North Koreans.
Yes or no, will you cancel parts of the parts of the August recess?
Yeah, I'll have more to say definitively about that the week after next, but I've said to all the press corps and the members up here I wouldn't buy any non-refundable tickets.
Right, and there's a tweet from Burgess Everett saying, "I told Senator McConnell I delayed my August vacation. His response was, 'You should.'" And I guess the question is, if the Congress can't get what it needs to get done from January through July, how much will a couple extra weeks help you?
Well, Brett, this has been a period of extraordinary accomplishment. The notion that this Congress hasn't been doing anything is utter nonsense, disproved by the facts. This has been the most productive year and a half in the time I've been in the Senate, and I'm now in my 3rd decade, particularly for those of us who want to see the country right of center. You know, whether it's the Supreme Court or 21 Circuit Court judges or regulations repealed or comprehensive tax reform. Just this week alone, we passed a Veterans Choice Act, a major significant piece of legislation. The record of this Congress is quite spectacular, and we'll be able to add even more achievements throughout the summer, and fully intend to, by taking up the Farm Bill, by taking up the National Defense Authorization Act, and beginning to function on appropriation bills, which the Democrats ground to a halt last year. We think that's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that nothing's getting done. I was suggesting whether you needed how much more could get done in that additional time if you choose to do that. If the House discharge petition on DACA happens and succeeds, would you take that up in the Senate?
Yeah, my view on immigration, you may or may not recall back in February, I brought up the subject of immigration, allowed a wide open debate with amendments. We spent a week on it on the Senate floor and passed nothing. If there's a bill that clears the House that President Trump indicates he would sign, then I'll give it serious consideration, because then we would be making a law and not just spinning our wheels for a week or so. I can't afford to do that. We have appropriation bills to pass and other measures that I just mentioned to you a few moments ago that will take up floor time, not to mention additional confirmations of judges and members of the executive branch that are pending before us.
A couple more quick things. One is the criticism of the president and this administration, not just coming from Democrats. Here is Senator Jeff Flake in pretty pointed language yesterday.
Your national leadership is, well, not good at all. Our presidency has been debased by a figure who seemingly has a bottomless appetite for destruction and division, and only a passing familiarity with how the Constitution works. And our Article I branch of government, the Congress, that's me, is utterly supine in the face of the moral vandalism that flows from the White House daily.
Your reaction to that, Senator?
Well, obviously, I don't agree with that. I wish Jeff were going to run again and stay in Congress and try to have an impact. He decided to leave, to retire. So he can say what he will. I obviously don't agree with that. I think this has been a period of extraordinary accomplishment by both the president and the Republican Congress.
Last thing, another Republican senator, Senator Toomey, tweeting out, raising taxes on Americans who choose to buy imported cars or trucks is a bad idea. Doing it under the false pretense of national security, Section 232, is an even worse idea, as it invites retaliation and weakens our credibility on actual trade disputes. It seems like there's pushback in the Republican ranks on that as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Toomey on that. I hope we can avoid getting into any kind of tariff situation. I particularly worry about retaliation that impacts American agriculture, a place where we enjoy substantial trade surpluses with the rest of the world. So I think all of us are hoping that all of this back and forth discussion about trade doesn't end up leading us into the implementation of tariffs or some larger trade war.
You hear anything from Senator McCain?
I haven't. I had a chance to visit him a couple weeks ago out in Arizona. We had a good discussion about all the battles of the past. Sometimes we were not on the same side. He's a great American, and we wish he could come back.
Senator McConnell, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.